In this video, I'm going to explain how to use the newer function IFS, or ifs function, and we'll compare it to the regular IF function. So now this came out, I know if you have Excel 2016, you won't have access to the ifs function, but Office 365 or Excel 365 and Excel 2019 will have this new ifs function. And basically what it allows is to have multiple logical tests, and then each test is paired with a value of true. So in this picture right here, you can see logical test 1, value of true 1, comma, and then dot dot dot, meaning after you fill in one of these, it will come up with logical test 2, value of 2, true 2, and then it'll just keep going. So you can have multiple tests and then pair it with the true value. Compare that to a regular if statement. In a regular if statement, you only have one test. Now, of course, in that test, you can have an and or an or function, which says two things have to be true, or one of these two things have to be true, but still it's just one test. This thing is going to return true or false, and depending on if it's true or false, you have two choices, the value of true and the value of false. So this if statement can only put two possible values into a cell that's where you place it, whereas this ifs statement can put one of many different possible values in a cell. So, using the example here on sheet 1, I have 10 students with various grades, and I want to assign a letter grade based on that. And so here's my table basically showing if you have 90 to 100, it's an A, 80 to 90, it's a B, things like that. Now, probably it might be better to rearrange this table and use a VLOOKUP, but it can also be done with an ifs function. So, parenthesis, what's the test? Is this cell greater and equal to 90? There's my test. If it is, comma, what am I going to do? If that's true, I'm going to put an A in the cell. Well, what if it's not greater than 90? In fact, this is not greater than 90. Well, then I'm asking, is that cell greater than equal to 80? And if that's true, we're going to put a B in this cell. So now you may ask, well, wait a minute, if this was a 99, that's greater than 80, why wouldn't they get a B? And it's because the ifs processes left to right, and the minute it hits a true statement, it's going to put in that corresponding answer, or value of true, and then it's done. So if this cell was 99, is that greater than 90? Yep, he gets an A, and we're done. The if statement quits processing, which just puts an A. So that's why I can say, is it greater than 80? And know that if it's above 90, I'm not even going to get to this question. So the order that you put your tests can matter. So now, let's keep going. I am going to say, is this cell greater than equal to 70, comma, they'll get a C, and this cell greater than equal to 60, comma, they'll get a D. And now there's two things you can do here. One, I could put in a test that says, hey, is it less than 60? Everything less than 60 is an F. Or I can put the word true, which means this logical test is always true. I mean, there's really no test here. The test is, it's true. And so this is kind of like an else statement, in that if none of these things are true, well, this test is always true. In which case, we're going to put a F. Okay? Now, that would be one way of handling this. There you go. So now if I drag that down, everybody gets their corresponding grade. Need to move a box here. Now, another way we could possibly use this, I'm going to sheet 2. Let's say we have a form where we're expecting our user to enter a loan amount, an APR, a term, and then we have a function already built into the spreadsheet that will calculate their payment. We could maybe use the if statement to give messages that they need to fill out certain information. So for instance, I could say ifs. I will use the isBlank function, parenthesis, and if that cell is blank, if that's true, comma, we're going to put the message that says enter a loan amount. Perfect. And then I could say, all right, is blank. And there's other ways to test if blank, but is blank. I'll test here. And if that's true, we'll put a message that says enter an APR. comma, and then our third test obviously will be, oops, don't want to click on that yet, is blank. Well, here I'll show you the other way to determine if that's blank. I could say if B3 equal quote quote, then we would put the message quote enter a term in years. There we go. And that would be all of our values. Now, of course, if we want to put like the form is complete or some message like that, we could just put the test as being true. So when we get to here, it's just going to hit that word true, and then we could say whatever, data is valid or filled out or whatever the message might be. There we go. So notice it says enter a loan amount. So I'll put in 10,000. Oh, then it says enter an APR. So okay, I'll put in 5%. Oh, enter the term in years. And now it says data is valid, and my payment function, which by the way had an if error, that's why it was blank previously, will calculate the payment for all of those numbers. Now if somebody were to delete something, then my message would pop up right there. So let's say that's there, but they delete the 5%. Then it's going to say enter an APR, so they can put in a 6%. So anyway, just another example of how to use the ifs function. It's a powerful tool, and basically I think it's going to eliminate the need to do nested ifs, which is where you had one if inside of another if, and you could nest them several layers deep, and they got kind of confusing to debug. So it's a pretty powerful tool.